This episode of Bulletproof Cash Flow is brought to you by Realty Dynamics. Learn how people like you can build substantial passive income while creating wealth for the long term through real estate investing. Visit rdyne.com. That's RDYNE.com.
I've used a lot of my firefighter background in business. And that basically means look to your left and your right. And who are you standing with? Who are you going to war with? What does your team look like? And a team can only be built if you, as a member of that team, have something of value to bring to the team.
Working because you want to, not because you have to, is financial freedom. And we want to help you create that. Welcome to the Bulletproof Cash Flow Show. We're going to teach you how to achieve lifetime financial freedom through real estate investment. Your host is a multifamily syndicator and property developer. He's done deals reaching into the hundreds of millions of dollars. You'll hear from experts in all aspects of real estate investment, finance, development, and management. Everything you need is right here. This is the Bulletproof Cash Flow Show. And this is your host, Augustino Pintus.
Hey everyone, it's Augustino. Like many of you out there, I got into the real estate investing game because I didn't want to trade time for money. It was about living the life I wanted to live on my own terms and trying to build massive wealth to make it come true. Now, today's guest was in the same boat and did something about it in a very big way. Now, he was a firefighter for 16 years until he found himself investing in commercial multifamily real estate. Now, he and his company, Freedom Venture Investments, has completed over $300 million in transactions. Now, additionally, he advises and mentors other real estate entrepreneurs about the mindset and skills that they need to build success. Now, once I drop his name, you'll probably recognize it from A&E's hit show, Flipping Boston. Now, with all that, I'd like to welcome Dave Seymour to the show. Dave, buddy, thanks for coming on, man.
Hey, Augustino. Thanks, man. How you doing, brother?
Doing all right.
Paradise. There you go.
It's another day. Any day you wake up alive is a good day, right? You're above ground. It's good.
Yeah, look, right. just don't plant me face down and put a daisy in my rear end. That's what somebody said one time, right? Above ground's a good day. And look, when you're in the real estate marketplace and you know what you're doing, every day's a good day because there's a play for every season. So yeah,
exactly.
Thanks for having me.
You bet. Now, guys, if you like what Dave has to say, you can reach him via the contact page at freedomventure.com. Okay, Dave, tell listeners a little bit about your journey, how you got started in all this.
Yeah, I kind of liked your intro there because it's succinct, right? I'm an immigrant to the States. You know, we were talking before we started recording, and your father was like, old school Italian. What are you, like Donald Trump? You know,
right.
I come from a working class background. I'm a blue collar guy in a white collar world today. And my father was a heating and air conditioning guy back in England. I'm an immigrant to the States. I came from London back in 1986. And my dad thinks I'm a drug dealer. I swear to God, he doesn't understand, the power of real estate and real estate investing. But, I'll take the long story and make it short. I followed that time for money strategy that generationally has been a cancer. I mean that respectfully to people who trade time for money. It's not a moral judgment. It's learned behavior. My old man used to say to me, David, work hard, son. Don't lie. Don't cheat. Don't steal. Do your solid 8 hours and, behave yourself. And it was like, yeah, don't cheat, don't steal. Those are fundamentals. But, this time for money stuff was here's what it was. It didn't come with any financial education, right? You come to America, wide-eyed like I did, and I found out a trick in this country. You're allowed to spend more money than you earn. And you can put it on these little things called credit cards. And nobody teaches you the rules. Nobody tells you that the whole freaking game is leveraged in the favor of the guys who have already got the money and the systems and the processes. I felt like a mushroom, you know what I mean? Keep me in the dark and feed me BS and everything will be fine. And the BS for me was always work for somebody else. You know, you deserve that new car. You deserve a new house. You don't deserve anything, man. You earn it, right? You earn it. And, you know, for me, I found myself, how old was I? Like age 35, 36. I was trading about 120 hours a week for somebody else's money. I'd work full-time in the fire department, take as many overtimes as I possibly could. I'd work construction, a small construction company on my days off, and nights and weekends, retail security. Imagine that shit,
Wow.
would you? It's crazy, brother. Crazy. Wow. And look, trading all of that time for somebody else's money means my time is spent elsewhere than where I really wanted to be, which was with my family. So it cost me a couple of marriages, and it cost me a relationship with my now 7-year-old son. It nearly cost me my sobriety. I'm sober 32 years. Like I found some pretty dark places in my life because of financial ignorance. But anyway, I got to a point where I met my now wife, Mary Beth, and I was having one of those moments with my guy upstairs, screaming and shouting and crying. I'm like, you know, what the heck, man? I did everything you said I was supposed to do, and my dad said I should do. Not lie, cheat, steal, work hard, you know, work hard. I'd done all of that, and my house was in pre-foreclosure. I had about $75,000, $80,000 in credit card debt. I couldn't work any more time. I was done. And it was rough. And look, man, I said my prayers, and my prayers were help, right? I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. Help me. And a commercial came on the radio at that moment in time. Teach me foreclosure. This was 2007-8. Teach me foreclosure. A free 1.5-hour seminar coming to your neck of the woods. And I'm like, what? And that's it, man. It started there. I started as a student in the seminar world. And I'm that guy. Once I make a decision to do something, I'm going to do it. Please, dear God, do not test me and say I can't do something, because I'll kick your assets, and you know, I'll get it done. And that's how I began. I started in the single family business, and it just got so much traction from there. But you know, my beginnings are humble. I'm not from Yale. I'm not from jail. I'm not from Harvard. You know, I teach the people at Harvard how to buy commercial real estate today. You know what I mean? So it's been a pretty dynamic journey up until this point. You know.
Yeah, but it is interesting though that the way I grew up very similarly. That I was told, you know, I want to be an entrepreneur. Back then it was tech. It was all computers. But no, you don't want to be an entrepreneur. That's high risk. You need to go get a job. You need to go work for somebody. And you know, the whole 40-hour thing, which turned into 80 hours when you're at the sea level. Trading time for money. Terrible idea.
Let me ask you a question. All right. I know I'm supposed to be the one getting interviewed, but I love being around my people, right? I love being around entrepreneurs in general. And for me, it was a case of, I heard that too. You know, entrepreneurship is risky. What are your thoughts on this? Because I was then taught and mentored to ask this question. Well, what's riskier? Having somebody else be in control of your financial freedom and future, or you? And that was, you know what I'm saying? Ask the people at Enron, right, who were waiting for Enron to find their retirement plan for them, right? You know, ask the guy who at 55 years old goes in and says, you know what? There's no laws to protect you anymore. I'm going to downsize your position. You're out of here. I got a 21-year-old kid out of college who's still drinking the Kool-Aid, who thinks that his collegiate degree on the wall is a ticket to financial freedom, you know? Yeah. So, you know what I'm saying?
I thought it was too. I mean, that's why I went and got double associates, a bachelor's degree, 2 master's degrees. And I thought, okay, now I'm bulletproof. I got enough education. Sure. Nothing bad can happen to me. That actually went through my mind. And now I think back, it's like, how dumb is that? Right? Yeah. How dumb is that?
You know what though? Here's my take on it, right? I've been blessed to teach internationally about entrepreneurship and real estate investing from the ground up to what I do today, mentor large commercial companies and help them put transactions together. But the truth of the matter I found, my truth was, It's only those that seek shall find, right?
Yeah.
If somebody else, you know what I'm saying? If somebody else is laying out a plan of action and implementation for me, I ask no questions. I just accept on face value 401k programs and, the collegiate route and all of those things. Again, not moral, no right or wrong, just different. Those that seek shall find. And I think for some reason, it's no longer appropriate, or it deems to not be appropriate, to ask questions. If you think about all of the fake news stuff and the pandemic stuff and the Trump stuff and the Biden stuff and the stuff, it's all stuff. We're not allowed to ask questions, or we're put down, right? Stop it. Stop asking silly questions. Just do as I tell you, right? What's that? What's that all about? At my age, just tell me? No, you can tell me anything. We're going to discover and ask questions. And I think that journey into real estate was driven for me from pain, right? Potentially losing my home, losing a marriage, losing, right, the loss, doing what I was deemed to be right, and yet the loss that occurred because of it, that pushed me to ask questions. And I remember when I first started listening to successful entrepreneurs and mentors, they reset my thinking, man. Yeah. Debt is good. What do you mean debt is good? Well, there's good debt and bad debt. There's leverage and unleveraged. There's appreciate and depreciate. What are you talking about? Right? It was like this whole brand new vocabulary and mindset. And being a paramedic, I had I have a little insight into medicine. And I know that the brain creates what are called synapses, new pathways in the brains, new repetitions, new thoughts, new processes. And it was almost like I didn't sleep for months when I started, man, because I'm building all of these new neural pathways, firing synapses, practicing the mirror. Hi, I'm Dave. I'm a full-time real estate investor. We leverage, I'd have my elevator pitch down, and the devil and the angel would be going on the shoulders. You're not a real estate investor. You're a jerk. You're fat. You're a working class. You know what I mean? It was crazy. But asking questions is what creates change. And I think that's one of the things anyway for me.
Well, but there's something else too, I think. And I think you're at the same impasse that I was, in that it wasn't until, I don't know, 3.5, 4 years ago for me anyway, when they handed me the box. All right, I was working at this company. The guy who hired me, he left. New CEO comes in, doesn't like me. Here's your box. Get out.
Yeah.
And then at that point, I'm in my 40s, and I'm like, okay, I need to do something. It isn't just like I want to do something, or it'd be nice to do something. It's kind of like, if I don't do this, I'm going to die type scenario, right?
Yeah.
And you were in the same position, right? It's kind of like if you had to do something, and when you watched an infomercial and you dove in and said, this is what I'm going to do, and you hyper focused on that one thing, it became a necessity. And I think that up until that point for me, that every 2 weeks they give you a little shot of heroin. That heroin is called a paycheck, right?
Yeah.
And I was just addicted to the paycheck. Yeah, I could go and bust my ass on this deal, or I could just wait until next week. I'll get another 10 grand.
Yeah. It's
what's easier, right?
It's Pavlov's. It's ding-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling. It's time for a paycheck. Ding-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling. I used to pray that the phone would ring so that I was next up for an overtime in the firehouse. Like, I'd be in the firehouse, the phone would ring 4:30, 5 o'clock. You knew the call was coming in for a nighttime overtime. Yeah. And I'd be all excited, like it would be, I'd salivate at the concept of working another 14 hours. And then I'd look at the paycheck at the end of the week, and it represented $200. Yeah. I mean, I spent more than that on a steak dinner with my wife 2 nights ago in Boston to celebrate our anniversary. Yeah. And I was giving up 14 hours of that. So, some people are dragged screaming and kicking. Some people are highly motivated. I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I'm a Tony Robbins-esque type person. I'm going to go to a Tony Robbins event and I'll run down the happy road to entrepreneurship until they get kicked in the teeth. And then there's some people who just live. I always preface this with moral and immoral. I'm not talking about morality. It's not ever a judgment, but some people are okay with mediocrity and the stability. I mean, I think the last time I took a paycheck was about 18 months ago. Imagine that, right? 18 months ago.
Yeah.
Has my business grown in 18 months? Yeah. Right. I've reinvested into the business, repositioned the business. You move and shake as the external forces demand. But for me, it was, I put one foot in front of the other. I kept going. I never gave up. Kind of like the firefighter mentality, right? Everybody goes, we go. We don't half-ass any of this stuff. And the funny thing was, I had a class of maybe 200-300 people in my class. Out of that class, I'll say maybe 50% of them invested in themselves to get educated. So you got maybe 150 people. Like 3 months into it, I look around, there's nobody left. I'm like, where did everybody go? Which leads me to the point of accountability is a dirty word, right?
Yeah.
Accountable. Are you accountable for the things you say and the things you do? And I looked around and they faded away. Like their why, their reason for change wasn't strong enough. And for me, I guess mine was. I just went at it with a vengeance. Every time I went into a fire, I knew I was coming out. I knew I was going to, get my objective was going to be. And it's kind of been the same way in real estate is I set an objective, reverse engineer it, find the structure to accomplish the goal, and then do it. Why would you even dream or unless you do it, make an offer, make the offer, find the money, do the deal,
I gotta wonder though, because there's people, I talk to a lot of people as well, we'll coach, we'll mentor, we do things like that. They say they're fascinated. Many people are fascinated by some of the things we've been able to do in such a short amount of time. My partners and I, and I'm not going to say it was easy. It was extremely difficult, difficult, right? But we pulled it off, these different deals. But in your case, something you said, like where you started off with a big group of people, 8 weeks in or whatever, all of a sudden you're down to 2, maybe even 0. And it's the why. It's the reason for them to come in early, sit in that seat, right, do the work.
Right.
I wonder why do you think that people just drop off? Like, why is that? Is it just because their why's not strong enough? Is it like, why do you think
it's a number of things? It's I think it's a DNA structure. People think they're entrepreneurs, but they're really entrepreneurs. I think it takes a certain, when I look back at it now, I now understand why I was not a good employee. Right? I really do understand why. And there's a cancer in 2 things, settling for less, and a cancer in not seeking accountability, right? And I think the people that faded away, it was too hard. The outside influences to the negative were too strong and they couldn't overcome them. The people of authority, right? The people of authority in their lives, their message became stronger than the message of the entrepreneurs who were pushing for growth. Okay. So I think people will find their own level. There's a book, can't remember the exact title. I think it's 10 Feet Short of Gold. And it talks about what if that one more phone call was the one where the relationship was built that took you to level up, but you never made that one more phone call, right? Yeah. How many no's do you welcome? If you ever read my email tag at the bottom of it, there's all of the legal stuff, if you weren't intended. But right above that, it says a yes or a no is more valuable than a maybe. A yes or a no is more valuable than a maybe. I want to hear no's, because if I hear enough no's, I know that I'm getting closer to a yes. And I think the people who faded away are the people who couldn't take the no's. They couldn't sit in their own skin in some kind of comfort, right? People live in an uncomfortable world. So So take that massive change like you did from the corporate world to being the entrepreneur. I did from the blue collar world to being the entrepreneur. Massive change needs massive action and massive passion to go with it, man. It's like, I'm up for this fight every day, 24/7. I'm not like, nah, I don't think I want to participate today, you know? So it's commitment. The other thing is I found a lot of people will wallow and fluff themselves up in education, right? Mm-hmm. I know how to underwrite deals, and look at me, I'm so freaking smart, right? Well, education, if I said to anybody, knowledge is, they'll go power, right? And it's not. Knowledge is bullshit unless you implement it. It doesn't mean anything.
That's true, yes.
It doesn't mean a GD thing. Do something. I would much rather somebody do something wrong than do nothing at all, right? And I think these people that fear false evidence appearing real, that's what fear stands for. These people live in that self-centered, crippling fear that it's easy to put $27,000 worth of education on a credit card. Okay, I'm going to be a real estate investor. No, you're not. You jerk. You're going to put that in and then complain that it didn't come easy. You got to put in the work. And I think people, it's a multifaceted answer, but I think outside influences of authority figures crush dreams. If you can't stand in your own two shoes and be comfortable enough with the decisions that you're making, then it's going to be a challenge. I'm not saying it's a challenge that can't be overcome. I believe it can. I mean, I'm a testimony to that myself. Like I said, my father thinks I'm a drug dealer. He doesn't understand real estate. He doesn't understand that I'm doing, about $300 million worth of deals in my pipeline right now, and another 300 behind us. So it's a special group that does it. But it's consistency, it's commitment, it's courage, it's follow through. It's doing this. It's a holiday today, but you and I are here. I didn't
even know it was a holiday.
It is a holiday.
Every day's a holiday.
Because guy said, I love this one. Guy said to me one time, he said, you got to love entrepreneurship. He said, I walked away from a 90-hour a week work week to be an entrepreneur so that I could work 120 hours a week. But now I do it with a smile on my face.
Right.
You know what I mean? I do it out of choice.
Because when the time is your time now, right? You're not trading your time anymore. It's like, I work harder than I ever have, but at the same time, I can be like tonight. I can be at 9:00 taking a phone call on a deal that we're working on. I'm okay doing that. I'm all right doing that. I'm okay.
Yeah.
And you're thinking about your deals all the time, but it's kind of like, but while you're doing that, maybe you're going to pick up a flight to go down to Florida for 3 months because that's what we're doing.
Right.
You could do that kind of stuff when you're an entrepreneur.
There it is.
Right.
I was in Boston a couple of nights ago with my wife. It was our wedding anniversary and my birthday. So we kind of like squashed them together. We get a night in town. I've got a couple of younger sons, 11-year-old, 9-year-old. So my 27-year-old was looking after his younger stepbrothers. But we're in there. And my head's going, man. I'm up at 2:30 in the morning. At 2:30 in the morning in the hotel room, I book a flight down to Fort Myers, where our business is. I book a hotel down there. I need to go down. We've got some new properties. We've got the signage just came in. The developments are coming in. The plans are coming in. And it's like we just opened up a new office down there. We're building a national headquarters down there. And I'm like, I'm just up in the middle of the night. Am I tired? Yeah. But am I excited? Yeah. Am I tired? Yes. But am I motivated? Yes. It's like that. And my wife, she sits up with that one good eye, looks at you across the hotel room. She's like, oh, he's at it again. You know what I mean? Like he's at it again is her concept. But my wife has been able to stay at home and raise my kids as a direct result of my entrepreneurial dream and my commitment to real estate. So it's like, it's a yin and a yang. The one thing I will tell any aspiring entrepreneur who's married or in a serious relationship, make sure you turn your phone upside down when you go out on date night. Don't let them catch you on the phone while you're supposed to be having that dinner date with your bride. So I learned that lesson the hard way.
Yeah, don't ever do that.
Don't ever do that.
So how do you cultivate that entrepreneurial vision, I guess. Like, because that's one of the things. Like, I've spoken to many people that come out to our events, and they want to be just like you, air quotes. You know, they want to have the deals. They want to be doing all that, but it sounds almost like they're missing a big part of the formula. Like, they have the want, which is a small part of it, in my opinion. But what do you think that they're lacking, and to really get to that next step?
Yeah, that's a great question, man. And look, I don't know about you. I can only ever relay my own experience, not somebody else's, but mine. And for me, I've used a lot of my firefighter background in business. And that basically means look to your left and your right. And who are you standing with? Who are you going to war with? What does your team look like? And a team can only be built if you, as a member of that team, have something of value to bring to the team. That's the missing piece, I think. So a lot of entrepreneurs start out, they got nothing to give. You have no value. If you cannot identify your unique proposition as an individual, then what are you doing? Just go punch a time clock like everybody else, right? Identify your unique proposition. If you're young, maybe it's your aggressive personality, the chance to go out. I'm too scared to talk to people. Then maybe it's your ability to work the internet like a fine-tuned technician, right? Maybe you got analyst skills out of the yin yang. Maybe you know 10 people with money. Maybe you got a great relationship with a realtor. Maybe you determine that. Start thinking about what's special about you, and then find a team that has a deficit in your strengths. It's not rocket science. My team today consists of three executive suite members. Myself as the CEO, I've got a COO, Chief Operations Officer, and a CIO, Chief Investment Officer. So here's a perfect example of it to elevate the game up. I'm really good at what we're doing right now, right? Off go the gums. I'm precise. I know my business. I know the vision for the company. I work the capital. I work the relationships, et cetera, et cetera. My COO, my operations officer, is 26 years old. Stole him from Fidelity. He's an absolute genius with the analytics, with putting together the pitch decks, the underwriting, pro formas, like all of the stuff that makes me want to stick a knife in my eyes. This guy does, and he gets all excited. And then right next to that is my investment officer, our chief investment officer, Walter, a couple of years older than me. Walter's 56, 57, 30 plus years in the Southwest Florida market, doing ground up development, multifamily, commercial, industrial, done it all. He's the guy. So he gets those calls. We underwrite the deals. I do the thing, the noise, make the noise. That's what we do. We make noise. And then we put all of that together and then monetize it. So, for the aspiring entrepreneur, find your core group to be team members. You can hire an attorney. You can hire a broker. You can hire a bookkeeper. You can hire a property manager. You cannot hire a business partner. No. I'll say that again. You cannot hire a business partner, because business relationships are bought on attraction, not promotion. Are you attracted to each other for the skills that you have as a deficit and they have as a strength, and then vice versa? And the last thing I'll say around that is then make sure that everybody feels great about driving in their lane. I don't want a guy who wants to come and take my skill set over. I dealt with that in the past. That's a disastrous combination. I am never going to try and come in and tell my partner, Walter, how to put a deal together in the Florida market when he's been doing it down there, like I said, for 30 years. I'm not going to take my young gun. I don't even know how to work an Excel spreadsheet, right? So the formulas and stuff, stop it. Bottom right-hand corner. So I'm not going to go into that arena and create the flow charts and the systems and the operational manuals and everything, and hiring new employees to support the expansion of that company. So that's I think is one of the reasons why these entrepreneurs fade away, right? They just fade into the background because it's a process to build a business. So,
but something you said, which is absolutely key, that probably needs to be reiterated, is that if if you want to be that entrepreneur in this space specifically, anyway, you have to bring something to the table. And we've transitioned from a very entrepreneurial country, I'd say, 100 years ago, to now everybody just expects free stuff. Everything's for free now, it seems. And it's like, that's not sustainable. I get excited when I go to one of these meetups and someone recognizes me. They recognize me from the show and they're like, hey, I want to come and work for you. And, but they have nothing to offer. Right. They can't underwrite a deal. They don't even know the basic lingo. And it's like, as much as I'd love to bring people on, the main issue is you have to have something to bring to the table, right? Yeah. Always. Yeah. And it doesn't end with just when you're just starting. If I want to have a partnership with a billionaire, I have to be able to do something that they can't do, and they can do a lot. So that means you have to keep upping your skills. But how do you get their attention? How do you give them something? How do you give them value? What is their pain point, and how do you help them? And not only that, how do you help them and do it for free, for nothing, just to do it for them? People, they want free stuff all the time. And it's like, I'll tell you what would be awesome if someone came to me right now and said, I'll work for you for the next 3 months for free. I'll show up every morning. I'll leave late into the night. And at the end of the 3 months, if you want to hire me, great. If you don't, we'll part ways. How awesome would that be? How often do you see that happening these days?
Yeah. Nobody's prepared. And they should be right now, because they're sitting at home getting free money. Yeah, pandemic relief capital. It's the perfect opportunity to get off your ass and get in a game or the game, whatever game it is that you want to play. So look, I resonate with you, man. I resonate with you 100%. The one thing I will tell anybody who listens is that the most valuable commodity is time, right? That billionaire, millionaire, gazillionaire, whatever, that business structure, you cannot expand and grow anything if you are the chief cook and bottle washer, right? That old adage, if you want something done right, do it yourself. That's broke thinking. That's a perpetuation of the crap we were talking about earlier. Now, if you want something done right yourself, find somebody else who does it better than you and compensate them heartily for that service. But time is always that commodity that's most valuable, because once it's spent, it's spent. We know that. So again, look in the mirror, identify your skill set, what you're really good at, and then expand it, make it bigger and better, and then figure out how to bring it to the marketplace. It's not rocket science. It's not easy, but it's not rocket science.
It is, but it's that's the thing though too. I think for many humans, we live our lives, at least the younger ones anyway, live their lives like we have an infinite amount of time, and I think maybe when you hit about 50, you realize, oh my God, I'm at the halfway point now.
You know what's funny? So that was my birthday. I was 55. So I'm now in my 56th year. And, there's a little reflection. I'm not going to lie to you. There's a little reflection. But I'm 55 and I am so excited about what's coming the next 20. It's not like 55, let my belly go, wear like the cargo pants, white socks, cargo pants, shorts, and then white socks up, over my calves. That's not me, man. That's not me. It's like, that's not my 55. My 55 is growth, expansion, aggression. As we say in soccer, I'm on the front foot, just moving forward. So, look, I don't know about a halfway point, but if it ends tomorrow, it's been a good run. Yeah. Right. But, it was funny. I was talking to Eric, the chief operations officer. He's, like I said, 26. I think he's going to be 27. And I was just talking in generalities about timeline for the company. So I'm 55, Walter's 57. Let's say 15, 20 years for Walter and I, so that we can dial back. And you've got this third member of the executive suite who's got, I could be his father. And then he said to me, what do you think about your boys? And he's talking about my now 11 and 9-year-old. And I'm like, what? He goes, it would be so good that they just step in, as you and Walter step out. And I'm like, what a blessing is that? So instead of, Dave, don't lie, don't cheat, don't steal, work hard, my son, right? Not that, no right or wrong, not that message, but hey, Jeff, Bennett, you know Eric, you've known him for years. There's a position for you to transition in there if you want to, right? And I know my 9-year-old is all about business. He thinks he's already a CEO of some imaginary company, wears a suit and stuff to school. It cracks me up. But, that's the joys of this, is passing that kind of message on so that we're always in a position of growth rather than stagnation. I don't want to, I want 85, 90 years old, maybe look at my bride and say, you know what, baby, we did okay. We did pretty good, so. Yeah.
And leaving a legacy for your kids too. That's
be nice. Yeah.
That's what started with me anyway. That's how it started with me. So now, how did you decide when to scale this thing up? Like, because I know you did, it wasn't always like that, and now you have your team and they're guiding you now. So how'd you make that decision to really go big?
I get bored. I'd love to give you some really, I studied the market systems. I'd be lying. I got bored. I look at a single family flip or a 4-unit or a 6-unit property that needs rehab, the Burr method, as they call it. I look at that and I go, whatever, that's not a challenge, So you make 50 or 100 grand on the back end. And I don't mean to be flip, but it's like, whatever, right? There's not a challenge in there. And, COVID created a landscape that nobody could have predicted. So then it's a case of, well, what is that landscape? We thought maybe there would be commercial buying opportunities. I've always owned commercial cash flowing assets, but not at the scale we're at today. And Walter, again, my investment officer, him and I, a couple of old war dogs, been through three cycles, 2 for me, maybe 3, if not 4 for him. And it was a case of, what do you see, Walter? And he's like, these mom and pops, these 50 to 100 unit complexes in my market. He said, they gotta take a hit. You can't go through something like this, supply chain, rents, all the challenges that COVID brought. He said, there's got to be buying opportunities. They work on tight margin. They got no reserves. So we created a $100 million private equity fund with a preferred rate of return. Nice, simple waterfall, nothing too crazy. I said to him, if it's confusing, I don't want to do it because it feels like you're cheating, right? Nice, simple waterfall, good LPGP structure, and just bang them out. So we did that. And then the market went, no buying opportunities here. Because who the hell would have ever figured that there would be trillions of dollars of free money coming into the economy?
Who would have thought? I would never have thought it. Right? I would never have thought it.
See, the thing is there's not one person I've talked to yet that agrees the Band-Aid has been removed. We haven't even started peeling the corner of this thing. It's got maybe a 5-year, 7-year run before we start to see some adjustments on it. So we looked at it and we said, necessity says grow the business. So we've done okay. We've taken down some acquisitions, some smaller acquisitions because the yield is there. But what happened was as my competition started to convince the lending community or the investor community that it's okay to buy stuff at a 3.5 or a 4 cap because they massage their numbers. I'm going to push rents for 10 years. It's going to be great. Well, no, our game is not a 10-year play. Our game is a 3, 5, 7 max, right?
Yeah.
So as we started to see that, it was like, I no interest in your 4 cap deal because I'm going to buy it at a 7 cap deal 18 months from now when you go belly up. That's what's going to happen. Yeah, so we looked at that and we said, well, what do we want to do? Well, let's go back to some of our core roots. And what we did is we've started to build out our pipeline on the development side. So we have right now, next month, we start scraping dirt on a 106-unit build, apartment complex, 5 buildings, Cape Vista. is the apartment complex name. That's going to be in Cape Coral. So you build the team to create it. Our construction team's coming in from Chicago, Slayton Construction. He's got about 15 billion square feet of development in his portfolio. You know what I mean? Like, the guy's a player. We're building our 16,000 square foot office building, Freedom Plaza, which is down on McGregor. So again, infrastructure team. So, how did the transition happen, or why did it happen? It happened because it had to, and I wanted to. Can I retire at 55 and go do nothing? Yeah. What the hell am I going to do? I gotta have a reason and a purpose. So being able to put that team lock in arms, the right people around us, it gives you confidence. Gives you confidence to go out and make the offer. It gives you confidence to know that you can capitalize with your LP partners, that you've got high net worth family offices, institutional capital, right? It gives you confidence to go out and execute on the deals so that, Bennett and Jeff can slide right in there with Eric, 15, 20 years from now, and it's good to go. So that was why. One was boredom. I'm not excited about a single family flip. I'm not excited about 50 grand on a paycheck. And that cracks me up that I even say that when I used to pray for $200 on an overtime. But, that's not a challenge. And I think if an entrepreneur is not challenged, they don't just stagnate, they actually reverse. They'll go backwards. It's almost like you got to feed the beast. You got to feed that machine. Otherwise, it becomes challenging. So that was why the market demanded that we stay on point and flexible, and we didn't have to deal with the low cap bullshit. My yield on cost is around 6.5% to 8%, depending on the structures that we're doing. We just took down two 34-acre parcels of land. 24-acre parcels of land in Cape Coral, identical. We're building 134 single-family build-for-rent communities.
Oh, nice.
So we're now going. Yeah, we're going there. We've got about 600 on deck. 600 single families built-for-rent communities on deck in various phases of development. So these are renters by choice. These are that huge influx of population in Florida needs to be serviced. Guess what? I'm going to service them, right? I'm going to service them. We're going to build that out in that infrastructure. So as you can see, I get animated, man. I got renderings came through this week. That's exciting. There's signage up on our various acreage acquisitions that we have. And it's like, it's just exciting. It's an exciting time. And I'm looking forward to keeping on building that momentum going forward and building the infrastructures underneath it. The young guy, Eric, he moved from up here in Boston, where I am. He moved down to Florida last week. But he's young. He's more flexible with it. He's gone down there for the expansion of the company and build the systems to support it. So, yeah. Well, good times, baby.
But it sounds to me like you're doing the same thing I'm doing, where we've acquired stabilized assets for a long time and transitioned over, or not ignoring the acquisition side of stabilized assets, but now doing development stuff too. Now doing development is a big thing. Yeah, absolutely. We're developing stuff up here too in Cleveland, and we already have 2 projects underway. We're gonna have a 3rd one here pretty soon. So it's crazy. But at the same time too, I am worried, and maybe you can comment on this. When you build so much, eventually it's going to taper off, right? And that's when things are going to change. That's what I think anyway, as far as absorption is concerned. I mean, what do you think in terms of today's market and where the market's going to be in 12, 18, 24 months?
Yeah, great question. So our absorption rate in Florida we've got 15 years of building to absorb what's there now, the demand side. 15 years was the last analytics that came out. So, and that's not including everybody that's still moving down there. 1,500 a day moving to the Florida market, right?
Yeah.
So it's business 101, supply and demand. Are you in the right place at the right time, and how much absorption and longevity have you got in there? And we're seeing it already. The snowbirds are staying. They're not coming back. They're not coming back. They're not going back to Chicago. They're not going back to New England. They're not going back to So, I don't know the Ohio market. I don't know what the demand side of that is. But if I can look at it and see that the demand side is so strong, it gives me the confidence to build. Okay. And look, you don't build 600 single family build for rent communities overnight. Okay. It's a 3-year to 5-year plan. So I am incredibly confident and bullish on the next 3 to 5 years in my market, Carolinas, Texas, but be careful. Some parts of Texas are still a little squirrely if you don't know what you're looking at. But if you look at the Carolina markets, north and south, you look down into Florida, even from the Panhandle, Pensacola, we're all bullish down the Southwest corridor, and yet I just picked up a little 14-unit development for a couple of mil, closed on that last week because it's a ridiculous deal. You know what I mean? So you go where the acquisitions make sense. Don't push an envelope based on BS. Stick to the fundamentals, and success is there. Otherwise, I wouldn't sleep at night taking in retirement capital and insurance capital and, hey, Dave, it's my life's work. Don't screw it up. You know what I mean? I didn't ask you for all your money. You know what I mean? So, you gotta be confident in your process, because each deal is a business. You know that, right? Every single deal has its own economics, its own stresses. So when you look at them on a deal by deal basis, we pass on 50 deals to do one. There's so much shit out there that's getting just thrown around. So we like to, we got a system, man, and we don't deviate from it unless the market stresses say we got to, change. So
yeah, good, love it.
Yeah.
So we covered a lot of ground.
We did.
Here. So for someone listening right now, if you had to offer them one piece of bulletproof advice, what would you tell them?
Educate, don't speculate. And then once you're done with the education, you put the speculation aside, then it's time for implementation. Okay. That's really it. Educate, don't speculate, then implement. Implementation is the key to salvation. I don't care what you've done. I care about what you're doing and what you're going to do, right? Your past is your past. I don't care how many classes you took and how many degrees are hanging on your wall. What's your skill set, right? What are you proficient in that attracts me to you to be a part of your team or you to be a part of mine? And then implementation. Action is everything. It's everything. So I think that's really the first step or the fundamental of getting some progress in this stuff.
Yeah, very sound advice. Very sound advice. All right, guys. Well, if you want to reach out to Dave, reach him via his website at freedomventure.com. Hope you got a lot of good insight on the journey and that, building wealth in this business is absolutely possible. You got to get into the right mindset. You got to start thinking big and really executing, implementing the knowledge that you learn from guys like Dave here. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next episode. Take care.
You've been listening to the Bulletproof Cash Flow Show. We hope you've enjoyed the show. We know we had fun. Make sure to visit our Apple Podcast page and leave us a 5-star review. We hope you've gotten some useful and practical information from the show. For real estate coaching, events, and resources, hit up bulletproofcashflow.com. Till next time.
No information in this episode should be considered specific, personal, or professional advice. Any investment opportunities mentioned on this show are limited to accredited or sophisticated investors. Any investments will only be made with proper disclosure and subscription documentation and subject to all applicable laws. Please consult an appropriate tax, legal, real estate, financial, or business professional for individualized advice.